Ah, better. Can I get you? Bloody Mary, please. Lots of celery. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, okay. So now I've got this projected other out there. Bingo! Thank you. And he's wheeling and dealing on my behalf. Supposedly, he's an increasingly autonomous entity.
Well, you can't possibly be suggesting that Two Birds is responsible for all of this.
At the very least, he's enjoying himself. That's important. I'm always one who's like to have a good time on the set. Look and see what I mean.
Let's talk with a former inspector who knows the situation there well.
Thank you. Bob, there's no mistaking the message from the Joint Chief of Staff. Get out, and get out quick. And even as Iraqi troops and citizens dig into the rubble that
The swindle.
Two Birds Productions burst upon the scene about a year ago, making extravagant claims about the relationship between nature, media, and technology. What he's up to, that part is not a mystery. And isn't it possible for him to be both at the same time?
Soothing at the speed of life.
Well, even as the war with Iraq turns sour.
Strippers on golf courses.
It's a sort of sympathetic magic meets high tech. He's enacting my future scripts.
Here's a good example. Our old friend Charlie, a fellow club member who just keeps cranking it out. A man after my own heart.
Is Charlie Rose.
Thank you for joining us. Our guest tonight, Two Birds Productions. Described in last month's New York Times by media critic Douglas Dentley as, quote, the most original and important presence on the internet today, full stop. Two Birds is, quote, extending the range of media itself as an artistic medium. I am pleased to have him on the show for our first time. Welcome. Well, thank you for having me, Charlie. Well, first of all, what makes Two Birds so different? Well, first I'd say it's the economic revolution that Two Birds represents, and I'm a little surprised the press has never picked up on that. Second of all, the neuronic electronic link that Two Birds has pioneered. I think could probably be those two are the first. I'd like to start with the second first. I knew you would. They always do. But we'll get back to the first, I promise.
Simultaneous characters out there in the AZ where these worlds intersect and overlap.
First of all, what's the basis of this leap? Is this a technological leap, or is this a biological or evolutionary? The ability to hold it all together at any given moment is really a physiological ability. And I think that, coupled with recent developments in technology. Which recent developments? Well, first the internet, and then second the neurological frontier. And it's at the intersection of these two, that's where Two Birds does its work. Are we seeing evolution in action? The mysterious evolves the beneficial, and I think that the mystery at the heart of things is not to be explained. In what way? In that
Tech A has brought these tools right to our doorsteps, and like the proverbial apes we are, it's time to take them up.
The critics have lined up both for and against Two Birds. Join us on the left. Well, look, it's all smoke and mirrors. This guy's 15 minutes is just about up. Oh, come on. Could it be that you're feeling threatened? By Two Birds Productions? Why? How have you managed to inspire such polarity?
What an arena! What a medium!
Well, I'm certainly not sentimental.
All held together by Adrian's thread of attention in link with his tech.
And I'm sure you're aware of it. No, I think there's precedent for this theme, this idea of a technological link somehow reaching down to save us all. This is classic deus ex machina. I mean, it's been around since the Greeks. There's nothing new in that.
A medium, a form that's sculpted by the fluid given circumstances of the 21st century. It's intoxicating stuff.
This can be used for... What's your take on Two Birds as a political force? Naive? That's why I think
it's so exquisitely dramatic.
I think I'm equally fascinated with this by both the process and the product. Tell us a little about how you work. Well, I look for the conditions of greatest freedom, and then I let that lead Two Birds.
Not to play the victim to the sensorium that's being forever pushed upon us, laid upon us, all with the motive for profit.
You know,
Most shocking stories.
To be able to replicate at the speed of light.
now here's another example of what I mean. Local news. A human interest story. Environmental disaster. Nursery owner Rusty Coburn of Cerrillos, New Mexico knows better than most what 7 years of drought mean to the pinon trees of New Mexico. They're dead and dying.
Oh, pinon trees pretty much, as far as you can drive in any direction in a day, are all dying. This whole biome is juniper pinon. Really, two species anchor the whole thing, and there's a whole lot of other species dependent on it. And I believe it's the biggest biome in continental United States. And here we've got a keystone species just blinking out. It's utterly apocalyptic. In fact, it's probably the biggest, baddest untold story in American forestry today. It's the bark beetle that's taking them out. But that's really just the coup de grace. These trees weren't so weakened by stress and drought they'd be able to protect themselves. But you can see here, all this, they get in there and they bore holes all around in the sap, and then you see lines of it here. 6 months later, the trees are dead. It just comes through like a tidal wave. This is all part of the tree trying to protect itself. And if the tree were a healthy tree, it weren't so weakened by drought, it would be able to protect itself. But it really just bleeds to death. Now that guy knows what he's talking about. That's a good program. And until the drought breaks, you're not going to have any real remission of this. The pine beetle comes in, you can see the sap running here. But we lose the pinon, we're going to be one greatly impoverished species, and we're not going to be the only one, because half the food chain out here is depending upon the pinon nut. So we may be impoverished, but there are going to be a lot of other species whose very survival is in question. Well, something sure as hell ain't right when the whole landscape is changing this fast. You know, I don't want to go the way that Zone 4 has gone. Yeah, these are propagating beds of the nursery. We're doing what we can to propagate seed, but I do believe that the ability to propagate, whether through layering or through grafting or through seed propagation, are going to be, or through genetic manipulation. I don't really give a damn, but I think that the ability to be able to alter your seed stock rapidly enough is going to be a key to survival for any communities that do survive. You're going to have rapid responses to these environmental changes. And so the skills, not only of the technical skills of the propagation, but just the skills to be able to continue to grow things, going to mean a lot more in the future. But I like this program. Oh, I think there's going to be terrible grief. I think that some will survive, some will thrive, and some will be weeded out.
And at the end of another long day of work under a hot, dusty, unforgiving New Mexico sky, nursery owner Rusty Coburn continues to wait for the rains that never come. This is Two Birds Productions reporting live from the field in Cerrillos, New Mexico.
Telling the stories of one character here, one character there, one dying of thirst out somewhere in the western lands, another lost in some ill-defined autonomous zone where you can
Yeah. No, not at all. Two Bloody Marys.
The point is, we are here. Broadcasting live, Two Birds Productions. On whatever frequency, channel available, reaching out through the great networks, now spreading the globe. To create one's own world, a state, a station from which to traverse the 12 energies, the 8 social landscapes, the 4 noble truths, the 3, the 2.
I think this first clip is early Two Birds. early 2002, if it's the same clip as we talked about.
Struggling towards whatever mythological excuse of a destination your imagination can invent and sustain.
Where next? Oh, outer space for sure. And will you come back to Earth long enough for us to have you on this show? I promise, Charlie. I'll be here. Thank you for being our guest. Thank you, Charlie. It's been my pleasure. Next up, Rumsfeld Ashcroft for 2012. Does the far right have a lock? Outspoken Senator John McCain from Arizona joins. Well, it was time to put old Charlie out to pasture, but not to worry. There's a stable full of hopefuls warming up in the wings, dubious characters eager for their 15 seconds of fame.
We started as a .com.
Others, like this top two-birds executive, currently under fire for cooking the books. At a recent interview, we asked him about these financial improprieties.
Told you I had nothing to say about that right now. You want to push this interview is over. This interview is over. Come on, let's just get out of here.
Excuse me, Mr. Dunbar.
You're doing all right. Oh, I'm good, thanks.
Never fear, there's plenty more where he came from. Let's swing around the channels and see what's up.
Sparked huge protests today.
About what could be a serious threat.
And Turkey, the launch pad.
Look, last week on Charlie Rose, this guy practically laid claim to space. Now, there's something patently ridiculous about it all. Something...
Cigarette?
And as art, no, it's postmodern in the sense that the author feels obliged to interrupt the narrative flow and to introduce himself into the tale. That's when I say narcissistic, that's more what I mean, and that's sort of what I mean. It's all just raw stock. This conversation's raw stock. My life is raw stock.
And worst of all, the victim doesn't remember what happened.
All sides.
Nothing new.
We'll have all the details on that.
And no cramps.
Even as the price of gasoline has spiked to over $4 a gallon. And in some regions of the country, gasoline isn't available at any price, especially the American Southwest, where widespread chaos continues to interrupt the flow of energy, electricity, water, and food into the region. Madly in love with the times, who wouldn't be? It's easy to dislike this guy, and it's even easier to dismiss him.
This inheritance, the fat's in the fire.
We go now to our correspondent in Baghdad. Dan, what's unfolding in the Middle Eastern theater is a tragedy of epic proportions. Even as troops and weapons continue to pour into this rapidly expanding kill zone, a massive sea, air, and land campaign now underway has drawn both Russian and Chinese troops into the ever-expanding conflict. Unconfirmed reports of thousands or even tens of thousands of American dead have been denied by both Pentagon and NATO officials. But on the Eastern Front,
From this bank and shoal of time to jump the life to come, simultaneous characters pushed out from the electronic neuronic frontiers, versing their flow, their story, their version.
there can't be versions of the news. That's why it's news.
Moving, navigating, bit by bit, bite by bite, out across the landscapes, traversing.
I think it's irresponsible. Even I think it's artistically irresponsible. When you've got tens of thousands of American troops being killed, this isn't suitable as raw material for your art. This isn't raw stock. This is people's lives.
Pour on us your poisons to refresh us.
Saying today, quote, "We'll have no choice but to stay the course, and we are calling on the American people for sacrifices."
Tech rising up, conspiracy, reaching out like the proverbial apes we are.
Next up, the war with Iraq turns sour. Who's to blame, and will heads roll? Stay with us.
So we generate the memes that flow through the veins of this vast electronic body and brain.
I don't think so. Next up, South Korea. Just a bargaining chip. Armageddon in the Southeast Asian theater. Stay with us. And then, later, President Ashcroft offers prayers for the tens of thousands dead in Seoul. Is it enough? Stay with us.
Also tonight,
Dan, 4 more nuclear devices struck the lower peninsula today in a cloud of radiation covering thousands of square...
While just behind me you see the widespread chaos.
Tough heartburn slowing you down.
And repetitive behavior that's disruptive or dangerous.
What the hell's wrong with this TV?
I don't know. It seems to have a mind of its own.
And now for just $14.95, you too can own your own Stretch-O-Matic.
More jobs.
That looked like you.
I don't think so.
Strange.
If this guy's so smart, how come he's still sleeping in chairs at airports, huh? Answer me that.
Hey, hi.
Is there a problem here?
No, there's no problem. This is television.
The Prozac wasn't approved for kids until today.
Whoa. I gotta fly. I'll see ya. Here we go. There you go. Keep the change.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.